I'm Matt Pinfield. This, of course, is Paul Westerberg, World-Class Fad. Great song from 14 Songs Out.
Thank you.
I like that a lot. And speaking of that, you know, I was on the air a couple weeks ago, and I brought up Seeing Her, which was a song that you did on your last tour, which I just loved, not only live, but you did record it, and it was on a promo here on Knockin' on Mine, a promo CD that is. And I got a letter in the mail from a big fan of yours that said, oh, you know, it's also available on the World-Class Fad import. Speaking of writing, you're prolific. One of the things I felt that even if you said you take a lot of time between things, you always end up having like a bunch of extra good songs, even in your replacement days with like If Only You Were Lonely, which was the B-side of I'm in Trouble, or Nowhere's My Home. You always had extra stuff. You know, for you, has it always been like, I don't know if easy is the right word, but has it always been natural for you to be prolific and have a lot of extra material by the time you have a record out? Or?
Yeah, I mean, we could debate if everything I put out was, I mean, sometimes maybe the better ones were left off the record, not for any perverse reason other than maybe they don't fit the flow of the record. This record flows well, and there's one or two tunes that I think are quite good, but they just stuck out like sore thumbs. You know, one was King of America, and Come On Little Bitch was the other, which was this really sort of like Faces-y kind of thing, but
cool.
Not quite. And I guess when you're making a record, you learn to make the best package as opposed to, like, you know, just a collection of songs.
Right. And you've always looked at records that way. I mean, you've done over the years, probably even, right? Going back to like Tim and I Will Dare.
Yeah, I just strayed away from it on 14 Songs, which was just a collection of tunes. I really wanted this one to like be kind of like an album like we used to have, you know.
Yeah. It is, and there's been some great ones. You gotta know that. It's cool. And right now we're gonna play the first video off this album eventually. It's a great song too as well, and it's called Love Untold here on 120 Minutes.
They were gonna meet on a Rocky Mountain street. Two bashful hearts beat in advance. The hands were gonna sweat. It was all set. She ain't showed up yet. Still a good chance. It's a love untold. It's a love untold. Checking on her face, checks his sleeve for his ace, and both just in case we're clean underwear. Games would be played, excuses would be made, the stupid things they said in their prayers. All about love untold. It's a love untold. Soft hands slowly move across the blank white page, thinking of words from my silent lips and fingers to obey. It's a love untold. It's a love untold. They were gonna meet on a crummy little street. It never came to be, I'm told. Does anyone recall the saddest love of all? The one that lets you fall, nothing to hold. It's the love untold. It's the love untold. Once upon a love untold. Once upon a love untold. Once upon a love untold. Just another love
Dirt Track Date. That's North Carolina's Southern Culture on the Skids with Camel Walk here in 120 Minutes. I'm Matt Pinfield, and I'm here tonight with Paul Westerberg. Paul, one of the things that I've always really loved about your live performances, way back from even the Replacements days, is you've always been really cool about pulling out just covers, very unexpected covers. There was that one cassette release you had years ago when the It's the Fans, which had like all, like covers from Vanity Fair's Hitch and Ride to Jailbreak with Thin Lizzy on it, big mix. Last year you toured and you were doing Take a Letter Maria, the R.B. Greer's great.
Were we?
Yeah, you did that, or not last year, but last tour.
Yeah.
You did that at least at one of the shows, one or two shows I saw, and it was just such a cool, different song to come out. How do you go about picking the songs? Are they things that you had as singles as a kid or old albums?
Yeah, stuff that I remember growing up, usually. A couple times it'd be like what we would hear in the radio that afternoon, and we'd go, hey, let's take a stab at that. Oh, God, what was the one I was just thinking of? Can't remember now.
Was it something you're talking about like when you were doing recently, or on Replacement stage? You heard something when you were driving on tour in the van?
Yeah, we would, whether we knew it or not was not criteria. It was like whether we liked it and was,
Yeah, and you'd give it a shot, literally,
Sure.
and do maybe a verse or two, and then stop and say, "Oh, that's all right."
That's all we knew. I mean, we tried to pretend that was the act, but it's like we only knew the hook, and-
Yeah, it was great though. Were you actually trying to figure it out in the van while you guys were driving from gig to gig?
No.
Not just on stage, right?
That sounds good. Let's do that tonight. It's kind of one of those. Yeah.
That's really cool, and it works. It still works, even when you're doing it now. Will people get to? Will you be doing that kind of thing this time around too, or you're not really sure?
Yeah, I think so. It's essential if I'm the only singer in the band, whatever this band is going to be, probably the lead singer, and I always have been. You get tired physically and also mentally of like singing, and you got to use your brain and emoting all night long. It's fun to suddenly sing someone else's words. It gives you a chance to rest, and your brain stops, because then you can just sort of have fun and enjoy it with the rest of the people. Because some of these tunes are, to give it the proper oomph, you have to like go back to that place and time and sort of relive it in your brain.
Yeah, very personal. Like there's certain things, songs that you've written that are just, really part of you inside, and it's about bearing your soul almost. So.
Yeah, so the goofy covers kind of release the tension.
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. That's great. We'll be talking with Paul Moore right. I was 7 minutes. That's what I meant to say. We'll be talking with Paul Moore right after the break. Okay, we're gonna play a video now from his former band, The Replacements. So stay with us.
So hard to read, I misconstrue what you mean. Slip me a napkin, and now that's a start. Is this your name or a doctor's eye chart? I try and comprehend you, but I got a dyslexic heart. I ain't dying to offend you, I've got a dyslexic heart.
I'm Matt Pinfield here with Paul Westerberg. Heard a little Dyslexic Heart, saw that there from the single soundtrack. I always love Waiting for Somebody that you did from that album.
Yeah, I like that song better than that one.
Yeah.
A lot.
Waiting for Somebody's great because, it's one of those things that I think that people have always had felt about your songwriting too, and sometimes the way you sing. There's a lot of emotion when you go to that part about, I made a big decision, I'm going to sleep, I'm going there alone, and there was, in your vocal, there's just so much passion, and it's almost this passion meets desperation thing. It's so real, it feels so good that it grabs you and pulls you in.
God, I couldn't recite one of the lyrics. I'm glad you knew them, so. Yeah, that rings a bell. I'm sure I meant that when I said it.
Yeah, it
It's
sounded
not
to
something
me.
you make up.
Yeah,
Make fun of it.
Right. It sounded like it was really coming from your heart, all the way around. And speaking of songs, let's talk about the songs on Eventually right now. Century is a song that I really love on there. And
My dad does too.
he does like that as well.
78 years old.
Wow. Well, you and I are on the same age. We are the same age, so you know.
It's a cool song.
Yeah. And You've Had It With You is another one. Tell me a bit about writing that tune a little bit. Is it just?
You Had It With You is just a little basher, you know, a chance to use the red guitar and play. And the divine Miss L actually was singing on it at home, and it's that one. Century has more of a history to it. In fact, I think Century was. Ain't Got Me.
Ain't Got Me is a great song.
So sometimes it's like it's one song forever, and then at the last minute it's like, well, I'll put these lyrics on this one instead.
Is that what happened to Ain't Got Me? Because that's another song that people are really going to love on this album.
Yeah, Ain't Got Me was Century, and then at the end I got different music for Ain't Got Me, and I needed words for Century because I had all the big rambling things, so I just dashed off like sort of Dylan-esque. It's got that thing in it, but. It's got a chorus.
It's totally cool. So there's a lot of songs in there. There's stuff for people to.
It's going to be tough to do that. That one I think we're going to need people to sing along, if rehearsal is any indication.
Yeah, that'll be cool though.
Yeah.
You know, and you find out they give people a shot in the band, and who knows, people in the audience. I'm sure they've always loved to kind of jump up and want to sing with you.
I was thinking of like, instead of the problem of having to work with bouncers and all that, just have like an open mic. You just have it right there, and it's like, you know, you have to sort of. Each guy gets one chance for one song, and just have like, you know, a guest background vocalist for every tune.
Yeah, that is the key. That'd be really interesting to do a show like that, wouldn't it?
Who knows?
Be a trip, and then you have your sound guy making sure if it's really bad, he's just
and then he cranks it up.
Yeah, exactly. Right now we're going to play a clip off the Replacements 1985 album. Tim, what an album this was, and here it is. Here's Bastards of Young on 120 Minutes. Hi, I'm Matt Pinfield. This is the second 60 minutes of MTV's 120 Minutes. The next hour, the Los Angeles band Goldfinger will be stopping by to talk with us. We'll have brand new videos from the Cardigans and Love in Reverse. Right now, we're going to talk more with Paul. Paul's here, Paul Westerberg. Paul, Tommy actually ended up playing on the album, too, on eventually the new record, Trumpet Clip, he's on. And was that kind of like you guys interacting again, kind of like what you did for him with Bash and Pop, and just a fun thing? Or?
Yeah, I mean, it was just totally natural. I was there, and I called him, and he stopped down, and I don't even know if he brought his bass or if we just had one laying around, but it's like he didn't need to know what key it was in or anything musical. He just came in and, you know, pointed him over there, and we just banged away. But the fun thing was when we rented the horns and he played the trombone and I was playing sax. So that's like the stuff we used to do. That's what was fun with the Replacements, when we used to just play instruments we didn't know how to play and play songs we didn't know how. That's where the real fun was, when it got to be like, okay, you got to play your big song now. That wasn't any fun. But.
Yeah. I mean, you know, when I remember you doing T-Rex song Raw Ramp Live, which was like one of my all-time favorite B-sides of T-Rex, and it was great. It seemed to me like, even with that and Another Girl on Another Planet, when you were picking up stuff, were those kind of things where you would play on different instruments when you were, you know, when you guys would actually rehearse those things? Or, you know, I'm curious.
Sure. I mean, heck, I think we tried to cut a couple of records that way. I mean, Hootenanny was cut. You know, the engineer couldn't see us because he was in a mobile truck. You know, I think I was playing drums and Chris was playing guitar, and it's like, let's just see if he can tell if it's not us playing the right instruments. He didn't know. You know?
Is that how Mr. Whirly was recorded?
Probably Mr. Whirly, definitely Hootenanny itself.
Yeah. What an album, too. Color Me Press, those songs are just amazing. But anyway, you know, hey, you know what I mean? You keep it going. A lot of great stuff over the years. I love it. And, you know, we're going to come back in a minute, too. Next, we got the latest from Girls Against Boys. This is the first clip off their third album, House of Girls Against Boys. And here's Superfire on 120 Minutes. Love Billy's hairstyle. Now, I'm Matt Pinfield. This is Paul Westerberg with me. Paul, you know, we're going to be wrapping things up. You know, I mean, I know you've heard it 100 times before, but I mean, it's true. Replacements were a very influential band. I mean, as you were living it, going through it, I'm sure it maybe didn't feel that way. And you guys really were influential, I think, in a lot of ways because you really were just living it. I mean, it was all about the love of the music and the passion and kind of just taking it there. I mean, from the songwriting to, you know, the whole feel of the records to your shows. I mean, that was pretty evident. How does it feel looking back on that now? Just having to know that you've influenced a lot of bands. And I mean, obviously, you wrote "We Are the Normal" for the Goo Goo Dolls and Superstar Car Wash. And you know they've been very influenced by you guys as well as a lot of other bands. How does that sit with you now?
I don't mind it. It's just that if the Replacements would form today, they wouldn't sound like the Replacements because that would be the easy way. We took the hard way. We took the way we went where there was no door, and we tried to kick the wall down and couldn't. But I think 10, 15 years later, people are acclimated to that style, and mainly the people who were in college radio when we started have moved on to other things, and they go back to maybe sign groups that remind them of the Mats and the Liars and Husker Du and stuff. And it's not dangerous now. It was dangerous for us to do that. If we were to do it now, it's not. And that was the excitement for us.
Right. It was kind of like there was a very us and them period.
We weren't supposed to do it. We weren't supposed to sound like that. We used to have guys at the record company yelling at us to, like, clean up the music and don't be so rude and don't do this. And now it's like, can you turn up the guitars and can you, cuss someone out? And, it's like, all right, how tired is that?
Yeah, exactly. It's now like people are asking you to try and do that and recut it. And that's got to be sometimes, just a little annoying or frustrating. But, it's cool because you're being true to yourself.
Yeah. And I enjoy the notoriety that the bands who've learned from the Mats have given the Mats and myself, and that I'm flattered, but it's the original was the best. That's an arrogant statement, but it's true.
It was a great time, all the way from like the early singles like "Customer" and "Stink." Yeah. Think about all that, crazy, just great stuff. But anyway, Paul, thanks a lot for coming and hanging, and good luck with the tour. I'm psyched to see it. I bet it'll be really cool. There'll be a lot of surprises coming out.
But the drummer's going to be good.
Yeah, that's cool. And eventually, of course, is the name of the new album, and it's out right now, so people can check it out. Right now, we got a brand new one from a Swedish band called the Cardigans. Their second album is titled Life. The first clip of it is for a song called Carnival. Might remind you of
be a part of punk pop history by now, but bandleader Paul Westerberg is back on the scene with his second solo album called Eventually, which is out exactly 3 years after his first solo album, 14 songs. Allison Stewart welcomed him back.
It's a love untold.
Drifting away from his garage guitar past, Paul Westerberg has returned, looking dapper and daring to release a pretty pop record called Eventually.
I think I would have liked this record when I was in my teens, but I would have been afraid to tell everyone that I liked it. But it has that quality of like old Carly Simon records or something that I've always loved that stuff, but I had to pretend for a good 10 years that wasn't cool. It's like, those records went way to the back of your collection.
So many people describe pop song, they always have to put the word little or silly.
A silly little pop song.
Why be so dismissive of the pop song?
It depends where you are. I think in England they have a better perception of what pop is. To me, pop embodies it all. Rock and roll is part of pop. I think people are afraid to make a catchy tune.
They were gonna meet on a Rocky Mountain street. Two bashful hearts beat in advance.
What are the elements of a catchy tune?
For me, it gives me goosebumps. That's how I know if I've got something that's good. And you want to hear it again as soon as it's over. You ever bought records like that? You listen to one song, it's like bang, 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 again and again and again.
Okay, here's our big hit record. Go, Chris.
The Replacements, Westerberg's former band, wrote many of those kind of songs and often played them stone drunk. But now at 36, Paul's left both the band and booze behind.
May I ask you about your sobriety?
Sure.
Did it change the way you wrote?
No, but it changed. I was able to tell if I wrote a piece of crap really quick. When you're drunk, you can't tell. You think it's good, and you might be drunk the next day when you hear it again, and you might be drunk every day when you record it, and then one day you sober up, and 6 years later, it's like, that's no good.
Unfortunately, founding member of the Replacements, Bob Stinson, never sobered up and died last year of substance abuse. He is remembered in Westerberg's ballad, Good Day.
Good day. 'cause any day that you're alive.
Is Good Day written about Bob?
Well, Bob helped me finish it. Let's just leave it at that.
Eventually is Paul Westerberg's best work yet. That according to Paul Westerberg, who makes this offer to those listeners who might not agree with him.
You're gonna like it. You know, if you like it now, great. If you don't, hang on to it in 5 years, play it again. It's like, you know, if you don't like it by then, I'll come and give you your money back.
Paul Westerberg will start a U.S. tour in Omaha on June 19th with opening act Thermidor, which includes 3 former members of Mary's Danish, and coincidentally, Josh Freese, who drums on Westerberg's new album. Meanwhile, his old replacement partner Tommy Stinson, Bob's brother, has a new band of his own called Perfect, which will release a debut EP on July 9th called When Squirrels Play Chicken.